You know, when I was in a sales job, they used to make us do certain exercises. And they would tell us, imagine, close your eyes and imagine money coming from you in different directions in increasing quantities. I was like, this is nonsense. But I did it because they told me. 3 years later, it's like, whoa, it can happen. And that's the point of imagining it, is that if you can imagine it and if you can feel it, it makes it that little bit more realistic that maybe it's possible, so let me work for it. If you think that's impossible, you won't put in the work, you won't make the choices to facilitate that outcome.
Today's episode on the Isle of Monday podcast is a part-time businessman, Tanim Zaman. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're a part-timer, man, part-timer.
I'm a part-timer and I love Mondays. I really love Mondays, honestly.
Guys, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.
For sure.
Even if you hate Mondays, you end up loving Mondays. Tanim, right. Where did Tanim Zaman start from?
I guess it started from my mom's womb, which then led to me being born in a hospital in Milan. My parents were very early migrants to Italy. So yeah, I think I was born on a very snowy February in Milan.
February? When?
Last week.
When?
11th.
Oh, I'm 16.
So yeah, subhanAllah. So strangely, although I don't have a Mediterranean face, I was born in Italy, lived there most of my childhood. And when I was 12 and a half years old, we came over to the UK.
Did you know English at that time? Or?
Just the basics.
Okay. How did you find growing up in UK compared to Milan?
It was very, very different. I was pretty depressed when I came here.
Why?
Because I had such an amazing childhood in Italy, friends, great weather, out and about every day, you know, everybody in the neighborhood. It was just an amazing place to grow up. And then obviously here, the dynamics are a little bit more different. The school is completely different. I had to carry a map of the school and my schedule to figure out where I was supposed to be, at which lesson. It was a nightmare. People are not as warm and friendly. Like in Italy, you run out of salt, sugar, you just knock next door. It's simple. Yeah, everybody knows you. You know everyone. Here, you know, maybe it's my fault, but don't even know my neighbor's full name. It's a bit of a different vibe. The weather, the food is not the same. So I was actually pretty depressed for the first few years. I hated it.
Which part of UK did you move to?
Moved straight to South London because that's where we had a lot of family. My mom's brother, who obviously was very helpful in us making the transition. So it was Bromley/Lewisham. So I went to a pretty rough school with a bad accent as a nerdy guy, Asian guy. Man, got serious, you know, bullying.
You get bullied?
Yeah.
How did you feel when you were getting bullied? Like,
to be honest, I had never experienced that before because in Italy, I didn't experience any of it. In fact, in Italy, because I was the only Asian guy, I actually got a lot of attention from good attention. Whereas here it was different. So it was quite difficult, but I guess what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I became a lot more streetwise.
But how did you like go to your parents, or did you complain to the teachers, or did you just take on the chin? And
I did complain to teachers, even the headmaster. They actually made me do a speech during a school reunion in front of everyone. I don't remember whether that made a difference or not, but I did try to I didn't just take it, I did try to go through the proper channels. I didn't say too much to my mum because she would have worried a bit too much.
Yeah.
But that's basically it. But I was very lucky we then moved from South London to East London, where the school was pretty much 90% ethnic. So I fitted straight in. And by this stage, I spoke decent English. I had a decent accent. I wasn't as fresh off the boat, you may say. So I was able to settle in much better, and then I had a fantastic time.
And what was your college and uni like? Did you go uni?
I went to uni, yeah.
What did you
Alhamdulillah. So
study?
I went to London School of Economics and I studied economics
So you
because
were
I was like a
full-on nerd.
full-on nerd, wanting to be an investment banker. Why? Is the fastest way to six figures according to my Google research when I was in year 10.
Do you still agree with that today?
No, totally not.
What was your first job after LSE?
So actually, I took a gap year. I applied to university with a deferred entry because I wanted to take a year out to work. I didn't want to take loans for university. So I did that, and God blessed me with an amazing opportunity to actually work at Deloitte on a gap year scheme. So that was fantastic. I'm 17 years old, wearing a nice suit, going to central London. This is the dream, right? That's what we came to UK for: a better life, a good career. And I did that for 6 months, a year, and it was quite depressing. I was in tax, accounting, didn't enjoy it, and that's probably when the penny dropped. Do I really want to do something like this for the rest of my life? And then work really hard to get promoted and get his job, and that guy is miserable and he's always in the office. Do I really want that life? And that's where I started probably looking at alternatives at a quite young age. So I was very, very lucky.
So what were you doing about it in terms of what kind of other alternatives?
Basically looking at what are the other things. So there was 2 phases to it. The first phase was, okay, is it just the job, the accounting that was boring? So maybe I should try other things. And I tried other things. I tried banking, I tried operations, I tried business management, I tried HR. It was all pretty much the same because there was no connection to, the work wasn't meaningful to me, right? There was no real meaning to it. I was just doing it for the sake of doing it and getting a decent paycheck and hopefully move up from there. The second phase was actually if all of these jobs and careers feel the same, then there must be something else out there. And we're lucky to be in the generation of social media. So, you start seeing an 18-year-old making 20 grand a week. You see a 32-year-old who retired living on an island. And these are all entrepreneurs. So that's where I started thinking about entrepreneurship and considering it a little bit more seriously.
I'm just going to read a LinkedIn post you put
Sure.
on today. Because you've done a lot of things. You've done interview coaching for students, imported leather goods from Morocco.
Yes.
Was that legal or illegal?
It was through EasyJet, through the luggage in EasyJet. So I don't know if that's, I didn't declare it. So in my defense, I was at uni, so I wasn't fully.
Just a side hustle.
Yeah, it was just a bit of a side hustle.
Promoting health and nutrition products, working for a prophetic leadership consultancy. Then you were running a tuition center. You created a halal investment network.
Mm-hmm.
You ran a workshop on financial literacy and entrepreneurship, created content for YouTube, and coaching Muslims to bring their business ideas to life. So you've done a lot of different things. So was that the stage you said you were like experimenting on what fits well for you?
So what happened was when it came to graduating, I had to make a decision. Do I jump into a graduate program like everybody else and then eventually get stuck like everybody else? Or do I take a different path? And I received a very, very good advice at that stage. At that point in my life, I came across a video online. And the advice was, when you're graduating, this is not the time to get a good job. This is the time you're entering a golden window of opportunity. This is the time in your life where you should explore, experiment, and give a shot at trying to achieve your dreams. Whether you want to be a sports person, a politician, a writer, an entrepreneur, whatever you want to be, this is the best time to have a go because you have very little responsibilities, family responsibilities, financial responsibilities. So I thought, actually that makes sense. Let me take a year out. I know my mom's not going to be happy with that. Nobody will understand it. But it's my golden window, right? So I took a gap year and I started an online program. An online business. Basically, I packaged something that I was good at and I sold it as an online program. And at that time, I was very good at helping people with interviews, because I did so many interviews to try and get all of these jobs during uni and internships, grad schemes. And that was a great experience, actually. Great experience. It didn't make much money at all, but it got me started on this journey of entrepreneurship. Learned about digital marketing, learned about funnels, learned about payment processes, and all of these wonderful things that are very, very helpful in the world of business.
Even though you didn't make any money from it or much money from it, would you say that was a successful failure?
So me as an entrepreneur, one major factor for me is impact. For me, it's not just about the money. It needs to be some impact. Now, from that website that I designed myself on a very, very thin budget, I actually helped 2,000 students in 19 countries. I didn't make much money, definitely not enough to be able to survive on it, which is why I then tried many other things. But that for me is a success, because the other thing I did was to completely automate it, so then it runs without me. So it then ran for 5 years afterwards without me needing to be there. It was all systemized and automated so that people could come to the website and benefit from the free stuff, realize that this guy knows what he's talking about, and then buy my ebook, then buy my webinar, and then buy my extra additional packages that I had. So I think it was a success from that perspective.
What would you define as a success in general? Would you say it's impact, or would it be depending on the level of business it is and where you are in your life?
I think one thing I've learned in university, probably the only thing I've learned in university, is that the right answer for everything is it depends. So what is success? Well, it depends on who you are, where you are in your life. For me at that time, that was successful because it got me started on this journey. I learned so much. I, for the first time, thought of myself as a business person and not someone who's going to go down the corporate career route. So it was a pivotal stage. And if I didn't do that, maybe I wouldn't be here speaking to you about why I love Mondays.
What was your next venture after that?
Next, I realized I have a lot to learn when it comes to business. Plus, I need some income. I've got no money coming in, or very little money coming in. I am unable to reinvest in my business to grow it further. So, okay, I need some work. What shall I do? Again, I was obsessed with learning about business at that time. Podcasts, books. At the time, we didn't have YouTube Shorts or TikTok, but I was just constantly trying to consume content. And one thing that kept coming up is, firstly, the fact that you have to build yourself first, invest in yourself. So build the man before you build the empire. That kept coming up. And another thing that kept coming up was if you want to be in business, you need to learn one critical skill, and that's sales. And then I'm like, okay, so let me do that then. Let me invest in myself by learning sales. And if I can find a job that actually pays me to do sales, then it ticks all of the boxes I'm looking for. So actually, that's what I did. I looked for a sales job. I also worked for a few of my mentors, sometimes for free, sometimes paid. But I was just focused on learning, investing in myself. Wasn't too fast about income at that stage. So I basically survived on maybe 800 to $1,000 a month for best part of 2 years, 3 years, as an LSE graduate.
Yeah, that's poor.
That's bad.
If you look at just the money side, that's poor.
That's embarrassing.
But
that's embarrassing.
If you're looking at what you're trying to achieve in the long run, then it's good, because personal development, something they don't teach you in schools or unis. Sales, that's another thing they don't teach you.
No,
and sales is important. Even if you're just someone looking for a job, you need to know how to sell yourself.
Everything we do involves some level of sales. It's just ingrained, especially in business, of course. Yeah. So all of my friends thought, okay, he's lost the plot. Because I had by the time I graduated, I had worked at Deloitte, Bloomberg, UBS, Barclays, the big towers in Canary Wharf. So I could have walked into one of those jobs as a graduate. But I was like, no, I need to give this a shot. I need to give this a shot. Because I've seen so many of my friends go down the career path and then get stuck. And they get stuck for a long, long time. And they disappear. I've always been active in the community, at university, faith societies, or that sort of stuff. So I've always wanted to do work that means something, that has an impact. And I didn't just want to be a corporate clog for a long time.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to develop themselves personally?
I think the best advice from me would be to find someone that can help you. Because where do you even start? So you need a mentor. Ideally, someone who is where you want to be. So if I wanted to start a property empire, I would want to get close to you, because I would be able to learn what you've learned in a decade, maybe in a couple of years. By working under you, I'd be able to absorb and learn everything. And you would, of course, mentor me, like, Tanim, you need to stop doing this. You need to spend a bit more time learning that. You need to stop saying things like this. You need to start thinking like that. That would be the fastest way to actually get to my goal of having a business like yours, for example. So finding a mentor, I think, is one of the best advices.
How does a person find a good mentor? That's a challenge.
It is a challenge. It is a challenge. Of course, first thing is you have to get off the couch, go out there, go to events, go to talks, email me. And there's a lot of young people that message me on LinkedIn for mentorship. And the ones that actually show good initiative, I actually meet them. I let them come and shadow us. And then sometimes they end up working for us. There's 2 people in the office right now who messaged me on LinkedIn, did a bit of internship, a little bit of a shadowing. And then we're like, you know what? You could actually do that for us. Can you start next week? That sort of thing. So be proactive, number 1. Number 2, there is so much free mentorship online right now. You could learn from billionaires on YouTube right now, from the comfort of your bed, your sofa, your car. So not having a mentor nowadays, I think it's for lazy people.
I think a lot of it, so you have to consume the good content.
Yeah.
And you have to make sure, obviously, you don't get distracted, because right now there's so many distractions. Just on your phone, there's so many distractions. But if you continue consuming the good content from YouTube, TikTok, from good business people, LinkedIn, and connect with people, network, then you'll definitely learn more. And then it gives you an idea of, this is where I want to be in 3-4 years. And I always say, if you want to find a mentor, don't find someone who's 20 years older than you or 20 years ahead of you.
True.
Find someone who's 5-6 years ahead. Because
great
it's easy
to relate.
Because someone who's 20 years ahead, their steps 20 years ago would be completely different. There's no such thing as Instagram 20 years ago.
Yeah. You're
but
completely right.
Now, I tell the part of the job description to work at Highcast was now build a personal brand.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Because that's the new thing now, isn't it? But if I was 10 years older, I'll be like, for my granddad, 20, 30, 40 years older, he'll be like, what is a personal brand? He watches
some leaflets.
Don't know what it is.
You got to do some leafleting, right?
Exactly. And the way we look at it is, we do a video. I was speaking to Mo, one of his videos got like 70,000 views. But if you do a video talking about something you're selling and it gets 70,000 views, that's way more than putting leaflets through the door.
70,000 is a stadium full of people.
Yeah.
Imagine you're just sitting on your laptop, writing something, shooting something, and next day 75,000 people see it. It's crazy. The world we live in, the power that we have on our devices, the access that we have, it's like nothing we've seen before. Which then brings me to question, why are people still not having a crack at doing something a bit different other than just the usual safe path? Sometimes to me it feels like we're lions that grew up with sheep, and you now believe that you're a sheep and you're going to live your whole life as a sheep, but you're actually have the potential to be a lion, a dinosaur, whatever, T-Rex, whatever. But everything around us is keeping us down. Society, parenting, there's a lot of factors.
But can everyone go through the business route?
Great question. So part of the work I've been doing for the last probably 5 years is helping people get started in business, encouraging them, mentoring them, giving them opportunities. It's particularly in my community. I used to think anyone can do business, but as I season and I have more experience dealing with more people, I don't think it's for everyone.
Why?
I don't think it's for everyone. Because you have to think in a particular way. You have to be comfortable with uncertainty. You have to be very, very positive. You have to be more positive than you are negative in your thinking. Mindset is very, very, very important. And that's one of the things that I was able to develop in my experimentation years, the mindset. Also, some people just are happy. They'll do set amount of work. They don't care what the work is. And then they'll come home and do whatever they want. They don't want the stress of, I'm getting calls right now. There's a landlord that we're trying to do a deal with. So as an entrepreneur, sometimes you work around the clock. Some people don't like that stress. It can be stressful. You have to have a lot of, you can't be averse to risk. I sometimes have people that approach me and ask me about the property stuff that we're doing, and then they ask loads of questions. How would I do this? How would I make sure this doesn't happen? So they want to mitigate every single risk. And sometimes the best thing for me to do is say, brother, you're not ready. You're not ready for business. And especially as employees, as an employee, you're just supposed to do one job and do it very well. And if it doesn't work well, there's repercussions. As an entrepreneur, you have to be able to do loads of things. You have to be okay with not doing them well. You have to be okay with learning from your mistakes. So there's a massive difference between the two types of people. And let's face it, entrepreneurs need employees. So that's another truth.
Yeah.
There will always be the minority who do extraordinary stuff, and the vast majority will be ordinary. That's just, I think, how nature works.
I think the risk thing is important because you need a risk appetite. And whether that's risk in money, whether that's risk in time, you need to be able to take that risk. And then the next step is you need to be able to take rejection.
Yes, that's another massive one. Huge.
There's
Huge.
rejection for, when you go for an interview, there's a rejection there. Okay, fine, I'll apply for a new job. There's rejection in sales when I need this £100 sale, I need this £1,000 sale, whatever it is that pushes you to go to the next step. Yeah. And that's why, for example, sales people are most paid or well paid in property industry anyway, because they have to make 100 calls a day, 200 calls a day. 90% of them won't entertain them, put the phone down. I've done cold calling jobs and they put the phone down straight away. Yeah. The 7-8% would be just happy for a chat, wasting your time. 2% will convert.
And you have to be willing to keep calling. And most people won't be able to hack that.
But can you build that appetite inside you? Because someone can be, I want to go into business. I don't know nothing about business. I don't know nothing about sales. Can someone build that risk appetite, that relentlessness, that mindset?
I think it's probably possible. It will take a long time. I don't think it will happen overnight. It will take some time, a lot of effort to actually eventually get there. It's almost, if somebody was extremely obese, can they get a six-pack? It's possible. It will take a lot of work, but it's possible. Another question is, what will motivate them to put in all of that work? There has to be something that's really driving them. The characteristic. Most people that I work with, that I'm helping, and my goal is to help people transition from that corporate life into entrepreneurship so they can have a higher quality of life and do the things that matter to them. That transition is not an easy process. It's not an easy process, and it involves so many layers. The first layer is them actually really wanting to do it. Really wanting to do it. So then in the evenings, after they finish work, they jump on the laptop, they build their website, or they call landlords, or they look for the next client, whatever needs doing for the business. You know, what's going to motivate you after work to do more work, and in the weekends also to take time out to do more work. So the drive is key. The second thing is, but what's actually driving them? What's your why? So important. You know, for me, there was so many times I was gonna quit the property business that we're doing now in the early days, because it was very tough. I found it very tough starting up. Because my why was retiring my mom, I couldn't afford to give up. I just kept going and going and going, and thanks God, earlier this year I was able to achieve that 3 years later. But I was gonna quit almost 3 times because it was just, it's tough to get something going, and in the early days of a business, you're continuously giving and not taking anything, not benefiting. As an employee, you put in the work and you get paid at the end of the month. As an entrepreneur, I've worked 3 years and I haven't taken a penny from my property business. Kept reinvesting, because you have to be able to, that why is so strong that you're willing to hold on for that long.
Then you also have to believe in yourself.
And you have to believe in yourself, and that's where most people struggle. Can I really do it? A lot of it is your brain trying to keep you safe, trying to keep you from going outside of your comfort zone, because that's dangerous. So it wants to keep you nice and comfortable. So can you really speak to a landlord? Will they really take you seriously? And that's your brain telling you, avoid the situation where you may get embarrassed.
But then can you convince your brain otherwise?
Yes, you can.
How?
So this is the process that I had to learn how to do. And I learned this in the sales job. The sales job was probably one of the best experiences because it completely rewired the way I think and the way I analyze my thoughts. Because thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, action leads to results. So if you can control everything at the thought level, then you're good. And first step is to identify, actually, my thoughts need auditing. I need to audit what my thought is saying, and I have the power to override it.
How do you audit your thoughts?
You need to know what you're looking for.
Do you write down your thoughts?
No, you just need to have a sense of what is an undesirable thought or a negative thought. So let's say, for example, I'm doing my sales job and I need to go door to door now. First, straight away I'm thinking, oh, it's cold today. It looks like it might rain. Should I maybe delay or maybe go tomorrow? Straight away, okay, no. That's a thought that I need to get out. And I've got targets to hit. I've got bills to pay. I'll take my umbrella and I'm going. That type of thing. You need to really catch yourself.
You have to flip your negative into a positive, basically.
Yeah.
Or find the solution to your problem. Your solution was umbrella.
Yeah. And there's a solution for everything.
Or whatever it is.
There's a solution for everything, by the way.
Yeah.
And part of my role, what I'm finding now as a coach to many people who are trying to do that transition, is to be that voice. When they tell me, oh, Tanim, I've called 11 landlords and it was no. I think maybe in this area, the landlords have a different mindset. That's a dangerous thought. You've only done 11
That means you're thinking of packing it in.
Yeah, you're thinking of packing it in. And I told you when you joined, you need to be willing to make 100 calls, not 11. So I remind them, okay, do the 100 calls and then we'll review the data together. So if they can't do that, then a mentor can do that for them. And that's why it's important to find a mentor. And of course, some mentors you have to pay for. Yeah. Some mentors are not going to go out of their way to sit with you 2-3 hours a week for free. They've got their own businesses to run, their own families, their own everything. So part of what helped me massively in my journey, I spent big bucks on mentorship. A lot of money on mentorship. 20 to 30K a year, which is why I still drive a banger because all my money goes in education. Why? Because I am investing in myself.
How can you justify paying 20 to 30,000 for a mentor?
So just to clarify, this is a bunch of different things. Could be a mastermind, an online course, a one-to-one mentor, and I've done pretty much all of that stuff. I've even recently flown out to America for a conference. It cost, in total it cost us about maybe 6K, the whole trip while we were there and back. But guess what? The first 30 minutes of that conference made the money worthwhile. We learned an insight from what they were presenting. It was a marketing conference. One insight that we implemented made the whole trip worthwhile. So let me put it another way. Say you're doing 100K a year in your business and you've been stuck there for a while. Now let's say I come along and I can very easily pinpoint exactly what you need to do to go to 250 and then eventually 500K. Wouldn't that be worth paying for?
100%.
The only thing is that you need to be sure that what I'm going to teach you actually works.
There's two things though. One is you have to be sure what you're going to teach.
Yeah.
Second is you have to be ready to implement it.
Exactly.
So you can't be, like, I'm quite stubborn, but I can't be stubborn about, if you tell me you have to do X, Y, Z, I can't say, well, I don't agree with it. That's your route to success. And if I'm paying you, I have to implement it. If it doesn't work then, and I put 100% into it, then it's a conversation to be had and tweak certain things.
Yeah. So there's actually certain conditions for being a successful student. Number one is have an empty cup. Assume you know nothing. Number two is if you've gone to someone for advice, surely they're qualified to advise you. Hence, take the advice. Be humble and take the advice, or don't waste anyone's time. Now, what you said about implementing is very important. So if I came and gave you free advice, listen, this is how you double your business in the next 12 months, free advice, you'll take it one way. If I come and say, look, I'll tell you how to double your business, but my fee is £2,500 an hour, you're going to be way more serious. Like if you're really serious, you will pay that and you will implement everything I tell you. So that's also part of the more the more a student pays, the likelihood of them succeeding actually.
Have you had any students where you have to turn away? Okay, before we go into students, what do you do? What do you coach on?
So at the moment, I'm super focused. You've heard all of the madness that I did, and that was a necessary period to be able to collect the acumen, the skills, the knowledge, the networks, and then go all in with something. What that something was, I had no idea. I used to watch Homes Under the Hammer and think, yeah, one day when I'm like semi-retired, if I can manage to save 50, 60K, I'll do this. It looks fun. I never thought I'll be in property in my 20s and 30s. So that's one thing. Yeah, we don't have it all figured out. A lot of it is just God's work. What was your question again? No, I'm joking. So
I normally have to ask him, that's why.
Yeah. So I'm focusing now on primarily one thing, but then it kind of became two. So our main business at the moment is a property business, and it's a management business. Because I had no capital 3 years ago, I had no money, I had no expertise, no nothing. I looked at what are the strategies that are actually suitable for someone like me, and management was one of them, right? So taking on the property on behalf of the landlord and running it well and all that sort of stuff. Now we wanted to add a twist to it to make it more interesting, make it more valuable. So we essentially specialize in managing HMOs, nothing else. HMO meaning a house share, 5-bed, 6-bed, we even have a 17-bed. We specialize in running those, We take them on from landlords. We pay them a guaranteed rent. So you enjoy your retirement, enjoy your family time, enjoy your holidays. And we will take your property, make it look better, and have top-notch creme de la creme tenants living here. So it's a win-win for everyone. So that's what we do. That's Sequoia Homes. And it's a fantastic business because it's recurring income.
When did you start it?
2019, a week before I got married.
And you've posted about your recurring income on LinkedIn.
Yes.
What's your yearly recurring?
At the moment, it's about 1.5 million. So that's basically 125,000 a month. So this is how much rent we collect from our tenants. Of course, that's not all profit. That's not all profit. This is how much rent we get paid. And then from there, we would pay the landlords, we would pay the bills, and whatever's left over is our gross profit. And that's around 20-something K at the moment, but it's growing every week almost. So that's mind-boggling that every month, 150, 160, 170 people are sending you money. You know, when I was in a sales job, they used to make us do certain exercises. And they would tell us, imagine, close your eyes and imagine money coming from you in different directions in increasing quantities. I was like, this is nonsense. But I did it because they told me. 3 years later, it's like, whoa, it can happen. And that's the point of imagining it, is that if you can imagine it and if you can feel it, it makes it that little bit more realistic that maybe it's possible, so let me work for it. If you think that's impossible, you won't put in the work, you won't make the choices to facilitate that outcome. So anyways, that's our main thing. And it's great because we're making rental income without owning any assets. We don't need to take any mortgages. From a faith perspective, we don't get involved in interest. So that's perfect for us. It's predictable income. It's recurring income. It's long-term income. Even in a pandemic, we didn't have issues. Most businesses were shut down. We were okay. In fact, we grew in the pandemic. So it's a phenomenal business from certain perspectives. And what I've done is I've actually completely removed myself out of that. I have a business partner who's phenomenal, and we're slowly building a team around it because we want to add a zero. So we got 150 tenants. We want to add a zero to that. That takes a team. That takes more resources. So we're slowly getting there.
Why is it important for you to remove yourself?
So I operationally removed myself because when I started the business, interestingly, I started the business because all of the other things I was doing at the time weren't giving me a reliable income. A few workshops here and there, a few coaching clients here and there. It wasn't giving us a reliable income or giving me a reliable income. So I thought, okay, I love doing this. If I could somehow get 2,000 a month from a passive income business, then I can carry on doing this and not worry about the income. So that was the goal. Like, I just need $2,000 a month. So I came across this business model and I was like, that looks like it could work. I can see myself building a portfolio. I only need like 4 properties. And I can run that very, very passively in terms of time effort. So that's how we started. And obviously we're way beyond that mark. So from the very beginning, the intention was always to operationally remove myself because my heart is in teaching. That's what I love doing. That's what I enjoy doing. That's where my impact is maximized. Don't get me wrong, I still give a lot of time to the business. And it's growing so fast that we have to constantly grow ourselves too. But I dedicate now, let's say 20% of the time there, and 80% of my time now goes in teaching people how do you replicate what we've managed to do, which is a little bit, it's the rent-to-rent model, but it's done in a more tasteful way, more professional way. It's got a more of a corporate look. And by the way, rent-to-rent is like, some people see it as a very, very, I don't know, almost dirty type of word. The biggest hotel chains in the world do rent-to-rent.
Yeah.
The Hilton that you stay at, the Hilton doesn't build or buy the hotel, they lease it.
Yeah.
So this whole model of leasing and then running a business on top of that piece of property is very widespread, very widespread. People do rent-to-rent with cars. When you rent a car from Sixt or Europe Car or whatever, they're leasing it from the manufacturers and then renting out to you per day. So it's a very, very common model. It's genius. It's genius. So you're monetizing someone else's asset. But we don't just monetize it, we actually look after it. We actually improve it, which is something very few people do. So now I am, because this last three to 5 years I was trying to help people to get into business and make that transition, now I'm realizing actually this thing is one of the best things that you could do, because it's reliable income, it's dependable. You can depend on it today, and 10 years from now, will the business still run? Pretty likely. Unlike a Facebook, Amazon online store or a Shopify store or all of these other things that people are sort of pushing to newbies to get involved in. So it ticks a lot of very, very, very important boxes for someone who's looking for financial independence, meaning my money is coming without me needing to work a job, work for anyone. There's a business that is running there and it is throwing out cash flow that I can live off with very little capital, very little capital. So that's what I'm focusing on as of, I would say, 2 years now. And it's been going well. I'm only teaching this, I'll be honest. I'm only teaching it to my community because we as Muslims are a little bit disadvantaged when it comes to property, because we don't do interest, we don't do mortgages, we don't do refinancing. So this is a strategy that is perfect for someone who doesn't want to get involved in those things. And I also have a specific strategy within this business model that makes it easier for people to get started.
What is that specific strategy?
You're going to have to pay me, bro. No, I'm joking. It is something that I teach on a free workshop. So make sure to follow me.
We'll put his socials and contact him on LinkedIn.
Because if I mention it here, bro, this video will blow up.
That's the whole point. When it comes to students, what's the key components you look for in a student? What do they need?
Great question, and I feel like I may be able to give some perspective because I've probably worked with over 100 people. I've probably had over 100 people in my program. Interestingly, in the early days when I wasn't charging a lot, probably 70% would take no action. They'll pay thousands to join the program and get the resources and get access to me, but they'll take no action. So as we kept increasing the price and increases what I offer, we started getting better quality mentees. And now it's amazing because when somebody joins, there's a 90% chance that they will get the results because two things. Firstly, the program itself is a bit crazy. Like I get involved in negotiating deals on behalf of my mentees. I speak to the landlords. I do the negotiating for them. I'll go and meet them if they're in London. I'll do all of the things that are difficult for them to do at the very beginning. I'll put myself as a guarantor. Yeah, if you're worried that this person may not be able to do X, Y, Z, no problem, I'll be the guarantor. Come see our office, here's our brochure, here's my bank statements. That is a massive leg up. Because when you're starting out, you approach a landlord, can I manage your property? He's like, who are you?
Yeah.
What's your credentials? How long have you been doing this? What's your credibility? You've got nothing to show for. So we're able to sort of provide that leverage. So they can leverage us to provide that satisfaction to the landlords. And by the way, this is happening all across the UK. We have mentees with properties in Glasgow, Cardiff, Birmingham, Manchester, Leicester, Sheffield. Cambridge, I have my top mentee. He just got a Tesla.
I spoke to, he messaged me on LinkedIn, so I had a call him. I can't remember his name, but
top guy. So he's actually financially independent because he's earning like $4,000 a month from his portfolio. He's still in his job. So we're basically, I never tell them quit because I tell them a point will come when it will make no sense for you to still be in a job. And I won't have to tell you, you will know. So yeah, it's working well, and I'm just focusing on this as much as I can. And what's happening is crazy. The more I help these people, the more blessings I see in my own business. Because that's something we have a belief in, that the more you help someone else, the more you give, the more you get. This is a well-known business principle, but for us it's a faith principle. The more you give, the more you get. So it's been amazing. I just feel the blessings every day. I love Mondays. And I genuinely think everybody should love Mondays. I mean, the name of your podcast is a disgrace. Why are people not loving Mondays?
Is Mondays one of your work days?
Yes. So today is Monday, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Monday. So I had, Monday is actually my favorite day. Go for my morning prayers. Straight after, so that's about 6 a.m. Straight after, I go to my office, which is across the mosque, and I just go there for 20 minutes to plan my day and get everything straight in here. Because there's so many things that you need to do and could do, so you just plan the day, set your priorities straight, then I go to the gym. And the gym for me is not to get dense, or it's a feel-good factor. I want to be healthy, I want to feel good. I used to have energy problems because I was almost burnt out. In my broke days, I was working too much, so I had a lot of energy problems. And doing a little workout really helps me. Go for a little swim, a little run, work up a sweat, go to the sauna, whatever. And then come back to the office, do some deep work, uninterrupted, then catch up with the team. In the afternoons, I usually have calls or meetings or something like this. And that's it. So that's a nice Monday. That's a nice Monday. And I think the thing that I feel most blessed about is that the work that I do every day is what I love to do. It's like, it doesn't feel like a chore.
So if you could work more than 3.5 days, would you?
I would love to work 7 days a week. I would love it. But I have on purpose limited myself to only 3.5 days.
Why?
A couple of reasons. Firstly, one of the key reasons behind me wanting to do business in the first place was that I wanted to be free, have the flexibility and the freedom. Obviously, there's many different types of entrepreneurs. Some entrepreneurs, super successful, work 100 hours a week, Elon Musk type. That's one category. But there's entrepreneurs out there who enjoy a very good lifestyle and have a very good income. And that's kind of what I wanted. It's like, I met a lady in property who was probably earning about 10K a month, and she would work 2 hours a week.
It's not bad.
That blew my mind. And she's out there doing yoga retreats, volunteering for UNICEF, and doing all of these things. And I thought, that's the lifestyle that I should have, right? If she can do it, why can't I? And that's when I got a bit more serious about property. So I want to make sure, now that I have a young son, and now that I've grafted for the last 7 years, 7 days a week, 5 years, now is the time to actually reap the fruits. I could work, and we could probably make a bit more money if I worked more, but for me it's a case of making sure that my life is balanced and that I give time to the important things in my life. It's not just about work and business. There's family, there's health, there's spirituality. So having that balance, I was lucky again, I've learned this from a mentor of mine who's amazing at maintaining a perfect balance.
Who is he?
Health. He's one of my teachers. He lives in Manchester, Usman Ahmed. And he does a lot of work in the Muslim community. He has 2 or 3 businesses, does 6 classes a week of martial arts, homeschool his children. It's just like superhuman almost, but he does it effortlessly. But that's all because of how he manages his time. He mastered the art of time management, and also designing your businesses to run without you. So for me, giving time to my family and my son and my children in particular was something important. Maybe it comes from my own childhood, because my dad was always working, always had to work to provide. Maybe it comes from me seeing the directors in the banking world and the people that we would aspire to be like, only being able to speak to their children on the phone during the week. They only see them on the weekends. Because when they leave their house in the morning, the child is asleep. When they get home in the evening at 9 o'clock, the child is in bed. I'm like, that's not the life that I want. So that's one thing. The other thing is actually productivity. The Parkinson's law says that work expands based on the time that you give it. So if I gave you 6 days to write a nice LinkedIn post, it would probably take you 6 days. If I gave you 6 minutes, you could probably do a pretty decent job, decent enough in 6 minutes.
We spoke about productivity.
I learned a lot from you. Yeah, I learned a lot from you.
I've changed that, by the way.
You changed it, so we need to sit down and go through it.
So now what I do is in the morning for about 1.5 hours, it's full on deep work. Yes. Then it's everything else. Before I did everything else and then deep work. Now I flipped it.
Flipped it around. And that's something I'm considering now, because now in the morning for me is the gym stuff, because it gives me the energy, but that's actually the best, most productive time to get the hard work done. Yeah. So maybe I should do that first. So what I sometimes do after the workout, I stay in the gym. It's a health club, so they have nice workspace, and I do my deep work there. Because when I get to the office, you get distracted and all that stuff. But that's interesting. Most productivity people or gurus or mentors or coaches say, do your most difficult, most important work first thing.
It's because you have the energy as well first thing. Your mind's a bit more clear first thing. You're not you shouldn't really be looking at your phone, or you're not getting calls. Because you know how it is, you're doing work at 10, 11 o'clock, someone's calling you, it's like, let me just pick up. Or messages. Now it's notification after notification after notification. So
the most productive people I know, they sleep early, then they wake up super early, which gives them a massive advantage. They have an extra 4 hours of productive work a day. Add it up in a month, add it up in a year, it's like they can achieve twice as much as the average person. So that's one thing I'm working on this year, is my whole routine. And sleeping early, it's been something, sleeping late has been something I've struggled with pretty much my whole life. It's like I never get to bed at a decent time. There's always something that distracts me, and now Netflix, this, that. I'm scrolling business YouTube shorts non-stop. So with the help of a coach, which I pay for one-to-one sessions on how to optimize my life and my work, he helped me solve that problem in literally 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
How?
He said very simply, for the next week, if you're not in bed by 11 p.m., you will be paying me £100 fine. Bro, at 11:15, I don't care what's going on, I'm getting ready to sleep. And it worked. It worked like magic. And then after a week, what happens is you're in that routine. And obviously, if you're sleeping at that time, and of course, the idea is that you wake up early, you get, like I'm tired right now because I woke up at 5:30 in the morning. So I could easily have a quick dinner, go home and fall asleep. I don't care about what's on Netflix. I don't care about the football, nothing. So you get into that routine where you automatically want to sleep early, and it's just a lovely cycle. It's harder when you have children and things like that. Like my son has been unwell recently, so one of these days this week, I didn't get enough sleep overnight. So it's a bit more difficult, but look, how much is this worth? Him solving that problem for me. Think about how many hours of productive work that I'm getting extra every day, every week, every year. You can't even put a price on that.
Yeah, because the amount of income you generate because of that over the years.
And think about it this way as well. It would be impossible for me to find time to go to the gym if it wasn't early morning or if I wasn't waking up early. So my health is also pinned onto me being able to sleep on time. My mental health, because when I go to the gym, I'm spending 20 minutes in the jacuzzi just doing nothing and quietening my mind. Because as an entrepreneur, you obviously probably experience this as well. It's always there. The thinking, we could do this, we could do that, I need to do this, I need to do that, or this idea, or that person. oh, this thing that I read last night, I should have done something about it, or I could have wrote this on LinkedIn. It's just constant, right?
But you know what I found has helped me quite a lot recently? You just write it down, because when
Write
you
it
write
down.
it,
Yeah.
your brain, your mind send,
Yeah.
your pen is basically sending signals to your brain,
Yeah.
but then you're expanding
Brain
and
dump.
expanding. Yes, and literally becomes a brain dump.
Yeah. When my wife sees that I'm a little bit anxious or overwhelmed, she's like, it's time for a brain dump. And it does help. It does help. Because then you're not having to store it. You just put it on the paper. Which is why I do that 20 minutes in the morning. Just dump it all, categorize, prioritize, and then I know what I'm doing. And I'm not carrying that with me all day.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who wants to start a business?
First question, the first thing I would say is what business and why. So you picking the right business is very important. Something that fits your skill set, your goals, your personality, and goals meaning, what do you want your future to look like? I walked out of businesses because my future did not look great. It was difficult for me to envision having a family while working in this type of business because it was very reliant on me. Restaurant businesses, I like that. You have to be there all the time. I had a tuition center. I had to be there all the time. Parents want to speak to Tanim. The students mess around when Tanim is not around. The teachers want to speak to Tanim when there's a problem. I always had to be there. So, which business and why? Spend as much time as necessary thinking about the business and pick the right one. Don't just go for something that sounds lucrative. Will the business actually work? Can you show me some proof? I always say, if you have a business idea, line up 100 customers. Because if you can't do that, then guess what? Once you launch the business, you'll have the same problem.
Yeah.
So you might as well try now. Can you line up 100 people? So when I started the property business, I was like, can I line up 100 people who want a really nice looking room? And it was very easy to do that. When I started the halal investing network, can I line up 100 people who are looking for halal investing opportunities? Yes. Okay, then I went with it. So number one is think of what and why. Number two, we call this validation. Validate the idea. Number three, the smartest thing you could do is find someone who's doing something similar and learn from them. Just go and learn. I had a friend who recently started a burger place. He actually went and worked in a very successful burger joint for 6 months.
That's how Chicken Cottage started. He worked in a fried chicken place, and then he saw a gap in the market. There's no halal fried chicken place, and he opened it, I think, in Brick Lane or around there anyway.
And now they're huge. Chicken Cottage are actually a multinational. They're actually almost like a conglomerate type of thing. So that's interesting, but it's slightly different because that's someone who happens to be working in a chicken shop and sees an opportunity. What I'm saying is,
the other way around.
I'm saying, you want to do something, okay. My friend is a lawyer. He's a lawyer and went to work for 6 months in the kitchen of a burger place. And that's why when he launched his burger place, it was firing. He hit the ground running. So that's probably, I'll keep it simple. Do those 4 things, and I think you have a good shot. And if you need any help, reach out to any friendly faces like your one or my one, and we would love to support, help, and see if we can make your journey a little bit easier.
So we did a podcast with Kent Teague, he used to work at Microsoft. Actually, Bill Gates recruited him directly.
Wow.
So back in '92, he's founded a software company which sold for over $100 million. He sat down with me for an hour, and we literally just spoke a bit about his life and then business. And he was talking about the main thing now is impact. How can you empower people throughout all his different businesses? How can you empower people to be successful, and how can you change their mindset? And he actually said he feels like he brainwashed himself to success because he wrote everything down. And the one thing he wrote in his mid-20s is, I want to own a sports franchise, and it came true 30 years later.
Wow.
But he goes, I
Incredible.
write everything down, I write my goals down. And I told my wife this, and she said, why a sell handbag?
I know what to send you next
Yeah.
Christmas. Yeah,
Um,
it's very, very interesting because this thing about giving back and impact. You notice a lot of successful people, once they've made their money, they start thinking about this, because once they've made their money, there's still a void in their life, and that void is only filled when you do something altruistic.
But I feel it's because they're not driven by money.
Exactly.
I don't
because
feel
they've
I
got
don't,
the money.
I'm not
now.
driven by money.
Yeah.
Money is just the byproduct.
Yeah.
I'm driven by growth of business, and again, you're empowering people to be the salespeople, the finance people to be good at their job. You're driven by teaching your students because you love teaching.
Yeah.
Money is there, but it gives you the freedom of time, like for you, for your family.
Choices. It gives you choices.
Gives you choices,
right?
and it alleviates stress. You're not worrying where the next penny is coming from, how you're paying the next bill.
It does bring other stresses too, though. I mean, I'm sure people watching this might be commenting that more money, more problems. But I know what it's like to have money, worries about money. That basically until about last 2 years ago, we've always had, money was always tight, which is why I always had part-time jobs. I've always been tutoring on the side, even as a student. So I know what that feels like. But I also know what it feels like not to need to worry about money, because more recently things have changed, and I know what it's like to have choices. Like I got a random opportunity. My brother messaged me, I've got some tickets for the football World Cup. Do you know, come?
Where?
In Qatar.
Okay, if my wife's listening, Qatar's the place to go.
The place to go. So he lives there actually. So he bought a bunch of tickets, and he's like, come. Maybe we can get dad down as well. My dad lives back home in Bangladesh. Because money was there, we flew him out. I flew out only for 5 days. Flew out, had an amazing time, made some memories, flew back.
But even if you had the money, you were director of Barclays Bank, would you have had the time?
No time.
And I think that's why a lot of people go into business.
Exactly. So it's having the time and the money is the two things. I remember somebody, when I was looking into going into banking, somebody said to me, Tanim, in banking, you may be able to afford a Ferrari, but you won't have time to drive it. So then I thought, okay, so who are all those guys who are driving Ferraris all day long and going on holidays and and they're all business owners. They're business owners. So I wish somebody said to me early on, Tanim, don't work hard to be an employee, because that's all I've heard from day one. Like my dad, from literally as soon as I could understand what he was saying, would tell me, you need a good job. You need a good job. Of course, he wanted what he thought was the best thing for me, right? So study, son, study, work hard. You see that car that you like, you can buy it if you get a good job. So it was why I did. Nobody said to me, Tanim, aim to be an employer.
But I think that's because your dad, for example, would probably have the mindset to survive.
Survival mindset. Absolutely.
Whereas now you're past that level, you built the foundations, now it's to thrive.
Which is why the work that I'm doing gets so much traction, because our parents' generation, as immigrants and even non-immigrants, our parents' generation, it was about survival and the basics. For us, we have the basics. We now need something more than that. We need meaning. We need comfort. We want excitement. We want fulfillment. These weird words, right? We need this stuff. That's why so many people depressed at work. They got good jobs, they got good salary, they're still depressed. It's because we seek something a little bit more. If you know about the Maslow hierarchy of needs, at the bottom is the basics. Then you have belonging and love and safety. We have all of that. And then as you go up and up and up, it's all about meaning and purpose. The very top is self-actualization. To do something in the world that only you can do.
What kind of mindset do you need for that? Define your mindset. What is your mindset?
My mindset is, what is the work that only I can do based on what God gave me today? So when I think about that, is okay, I can probably grow a very successful property business, and I can probably help people replicate that. Should I be starting a burger place with a friend? Should I be somebody invited me to start an online business with them? Should I be doing all of these things? What is the maximum impact that I can have? Because obviously the property business has impact as well. We are providing amazing rooms in a market where the benchmark is so low and so terrible.
Yeah.
London is one of the worst places to be a tenant. So if you read our Trustpilot reviews, you can see that we're doing something right because people are very happy with the service, and it's very rare in London. So there's impact there. The other side is landlords are getting burnt left, right, and center. The horror stories we hear, unbelievable. So for them to have someone that they can entrust their precious assets and sleep comfortably at night and enjoy their retirements, enjoy time with the grandchildren, holidays, that's also impact. That's also impact. So I'm always thinking, how can I maximize my impact? And obviously that comes from our faith, which is all about maximizing your good deeds and maximizing how you benefit and how much you benefit people. And I say this a lot to young people, is that business, try to look at it as a vehicle for impact at scale and flexibility. So you can do amazing work in the world, do it on your own terms. If I want to take a month off, I can take a month off. If I want to spend 3 months paternity leave when my child is born, I'll do that. You have that flexibility, and that increases your quality of life multifold, and then leads you to do more work, of course.
If a person has a negative mindset, how do they change it to a positive one?
It's a tough one. That's one of the things that I really struggle with, and I have some family members who have that type of mindset, and I always biting my teeth, because as a coach or as somebody who wants to help others, I want to jump on, okay, no, you're thinking like this, but there's no reason for you to think like that. You should think like this, but you can't say that to everyone. I think the first step is to recognize that you do have a negative mindset. Secondly, learn what does a positive mindset look like and why is it something you should aim for. So look at someone who's positive and compare your life. Compare the experiences, compare the opportunities, compare the quality of life between negative and positive. But you see, a negative mindset will be like, oh, we can't compare because you don't know where I've come from, you don't know my struggles, you don't know this, you don't know that. So it depends how bad is the negativity. Some people are beyond help. You just got to stay away from them.
I think is when you've accepted that, okay, I'm thinking negatively, then it's about training your mind. So as soon as you have an excuse, you flip it. If you say, I can't do it, flip it to, I can do it. And it's simple and easy to say, but if over a long time you're constantly thinking you can't do something, then to flipping it and brainwashing or tricking your mind that you can do it could take 2, 3, 10 years of effort.
You know what's really interesting is that as a Muslim person, it should be impossible to be negative-minded.
Because we're meant to have hope.
Yeah, and okay, can I do something? Yes, with God's help, you can do anything. Nothing's impossible for God, right? So anyone who believes in God shouldn't have any negativity in that thinking, in terms of limiting beliefs. You know, God could give me 15 million pounds tomorrow in my bank. Could be a glitch in the banking system, and I can have it tomorrow. Or I could lose everything tomorrow. But do I believe it's possible? Of course. If God helps me, it's possible. So then I'm more likely to take that step. So I actually think faith is essential in business. I don't know how people without faith survive. And similar thing, you know, when you have a tragic event, faith gets you through it. The similar thing in business is it's not easy. It's not a walk in the park. There's a lot of stressful things. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of risk. There's a lot of things that may happen that will shock you. And faith, I think, is a superpower. It's a superpower. So that's also part of my message, that if you're a person of faith, you have a superpower. So let's use it and let's get you, let's get you to live the life that you actually want to live.
What's one thing you want to say to the audience today before we finish?
Subscribe, innit?
That's it. That's what I was waiting to hear. Just a little quick fire round before we finish. If I can find the questions. Favorite food?
Favorite food, Italian.
What kind of Italian food?
Anything Italian I'll eat and love.
Do you have like an Italian / Bengali fusion? Or is it straight
No,
Italian?
not really. No. Oh, it has to be like proper stuff. Bear in mind, that's what I grew up eating in schools and at home even. So it's just in my DNA.
Favorite holiday destination?
I'll say Qatar because it'll make you happy. But genuinely, I had a really nice time in Qatar. I went twice. So I really enjoyed Qatar. Also, Phuket in Thailand was amazing. I want to go back soon.
Favorite book?
Favorite book? How to Win Friends and Influence People. Changed my life.
Someone else said that as well, wasn't it?
Someone else said that.
Or was it two other people?
It
that
was
said that?
first published in 1953, and we're still talking about it, still learning from it.
Okay.
Amazing.
I think it was TJ that said that. Favorite day?
Favorite date?
Day.
Oh, day. Monday, of course.
And what's your favorite phrase?
Favorite phrase, that's a good one. I was thinking about it on the way here. If they can, why can't I?
That's a very good one.
Yeah.
Tanim, it's been a pleasure.
The pleasure's been mine.
Thank
I love
you very
talking,
much.
you know.
No, we've had some good chats in the past
For
as well.
sure.
But no, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the amazing, effort that you putting forward a good show and valuable information for people to benefit from.
And I'll put Tanim's socials. How can people find you? LinkedIn?
So it's mostly LinkedIn.
And
I'm
phone number?
starting on TikTok now. No, don't call me. Please don't call me or message me. LinkedIn, and I'm starting soon a TikTok channel because that's the modern channel to
Start
reach
it
the
now,
masses.
man.
I've started recording Saturday
Okay,
with some help. I need help with that because it's a lot of work.
no problem. Any TikTok content creators, do a skill swap. Tanim will teach you about how to get into
It's
property,
nice. I like that.
and you can teach Tanim about TikTok.
I like that.
Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and follow Tanim on his socials, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.